Okay, everybody. So welcome. Wow, Wednesday, May 13th. So let's check in. How are you doing? What is happening? So, what are you noticing about your thoughts? If you've gotten a chance to inquire, Teresa, I saw yours on Slack. That was great in writing. Um, let's start with you, Teresa.
All right. So, yeah, I lots of thoughts. Lots of they should be wearing a mask. They should be do or should not be doing this, or I should. And then the one that's really intriguing, I was doing the work with Nanu yesterday, and the thought came up: I am responsible for my weight. And so I thought, oh, that's a good question. Good thought to question. I'm
Good
responsible.
one. That is a good one. Yeah, thank you. All right. Nanu.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace. Um, Doing the work yesterday, I noticed that I have a couple in my head. They fight all the time
Hmm.
and they love fighting. They wouldn't want one of them to disappear. They need each other.
Ah,
And it started from investigating the thought, I want to eat it all. The situation being eating a second square from a bar of chocolate and noticing that I didn't want to eat anymore, and that one part of the couple wanting to eat it all so that it could control the other one,
hmm.
could still control the other one. And I don't know what to do with that, but it was just amazing to notice that, like an old couple, they just can't go without each other. They love fighting.
Yeah, that's great.
And maybe that makes it, for the moment, it not possible for me to control eating because of that.
Very interesting. Yeah, yeah. Love that. How fascinating. Like just imagining, I don't know, I love that. Imagining not having the argument and if there's something inside that's like, whoa, I can't not have that argument. Like that would be uh, difficult or sad or something.
Boring.
Boring.
Yes.
Boring. So good. Thank you. Yeah, good discovery. Yeah. All right, Dee, and hello, May, and Velisa, and Lori.
Hi.
Hi, Dee.
Um, so I don't have, I haven't been like uh, tracking my thinking, but last few days my eating has been um, just uh, making, choosing to eat things that don't sit right. I've had a lot of heartburn,
Hmm.
and and it's still very difficult to not eat the things, even though I see a correlation, I feel a correlation with those things. It's still, I'm still not able to completely just, choose something else. So
Hmm.
something,
Hmm.
something very illogical happening. um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. So just a funk.
Well, thank you. Sure, everybody can, it's very, appreciative. There's the watcher that sees it all. And then I wonder what she's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. Thank you. Okay. May, how about you? So we're checking in, everybody who's showing up, we're checking in. And what are you noticing about your thoughts? Any inquiry you've done? Yeah.
Well, I noticed that inquiry is really helpful. And I watched a video recently about like a psychological perspective on inquiry and why the work works. And this woman was saying how, like, when your nervous system is overwhelmed, that's not necessarily the time to do the work. You want to wait till it kind of settles. And I have experienced, like, in the middle of an emotional storm, calling the helpline, and it was helpful. But I left with my nervous system still dysregulated. It was very, like, I was very fast the whole process. So yeah, so I'm looking for more ways to settle down in the moment, and sometimes it's just like helpful to cry. I've got some really messy family stuff coming up. My parents are like separating, and my dad is 79 and super sick, and my mom thinks he has dementia, and my brother is like potentially suicidal right now, and my mom and my brother just left my dad at the house because they're mad because he went to the grocery store and he wasn't supposed to expose himself to the virus. So shit's kind of crazy in my world right now. Well, it's actually not. I'm in a very calm apartment, but my thoughts have been overwhelming me. And I also feel paranoid often about my landlord, because I was going to move out of here before the virus started because our lifestyles were incompatible. And then she told me that I could stay here because of the virus. And so I find myself so paranoid, and then she'll like send me a really nice text and I'm like, oh my God. So,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Thank you.
thanks.
Okay. All right. Laura. Hello.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to see most all of us here. That makes me happy. The big thing right now is that I changed my bioidentical hormones, and I'm noticing a difference in my energy, but I'm also noticing that I'm more hungry. So apparently, whatever they did increased my metabolism, which is a good thing. That means, yesterday I got out of bed willingly and having to force myself, and I was able to get a lot of things done, and that felt really good. And that felt really good. So I'm just watching still with I need to lose weight. I question that, not formally. I'm still resisting doing formal worksheets for some reason. I suppose I like to muck in my mire. I guess that's just where I am right now. And actually everything feels like it's settling, and that feels good. You know, I'm more at peace with the whole virus thing, peace where I'm at with it. It feels a whole lot more peaceful right now for me. So I'm grateful for that.
Wonderful.
Except around food. So there must be something going on. I'm not paying attention.
Yes. Yeah. Well, good.
So,
all right.
anyway, glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. No, so good. Okay. Abby, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm just continuing to watch and observe and to do the inquiry pretty regularly, which is really helping. And yeah, just trying to watch my emotional triggers and what that's about, particularly anger, like we were talking about. And what else? I don't know. I don't have that much else to say.
Cool. Glad you're here. Good. All right, Belisa, hello.
Hi, everybody. I have a face mask on right now, so that's why it looks kind of dirty. But this past week, kind of like feeling into like the expansion and contraction of like being, and being okay with that, because we always have like this preconceived notion that we should always be in expansiveness, but that
That's a
doesn't
good,
really make sense.
right?
The contraction is where sometimes the juice is, and the contraction is the hard part. That's like where some of the learning happens. And then also like not having to understand the why behind everything necessarily. Like thinking differently and wanting to do differently, or and not needing to understand the why. And then like I'm feeling a certain way, like maybe I don't need to understand the why, and I can just feel it. How does it feel? How do I feel without it? Actually do the inquiry and do the turnarounds. But I'm not really looking at like why necessarily. Like, how does it feel in my body at this moment? Is it true? What are the turnarounds? Okay, cool. And then just like being comfortable with being still, so that I can like listen better
Sounds
to
like, yeah,
what I need and stuff.
awesome. Thank you.
So that's it.
Yeah. I think of just nice to be in the don't know mind. All right, Lori, if you're able to share.
Yeah, I'm able to share.
Okay.
So, I guess last time when you had mentioned look at the resistance model, okay? Because I wasn't sure why some things weren't changing. So I went to that module, Immunity to Change, and you went module 1, lesson 6, and identifying where we have trouble. So when I identified as far as time, place, location, that's reliable. So I noticed in the mornings, I have a nice morning routine. The day starts great, feel great. As the day progresses, then I start feeling tired, bored, achy, not joyful, less resilient. And so that's where things start to fall apart. And so I was thinking about, I have this wonderful morning routine. Well, what about an afternoon routine in terms of when I am feeling tired, less resilient? Anyway, so there's some things. I have a wonderful coloring book actually that I got. It's a stress relief thing. It's mosaics, and it feels wonderful to do that. Or because I'm getting older, I remember seeing a thing on the refrigerator at my parents' house, something about even though we're in the winter years, there's still beautiful sunsets. Well, I just ordered a sunset puzzle. Maybe that can work on. So in the afternoon, when I'm feeling the energy levels low, I'm feeling more vulnerable. Doing something nice for myself in those vulnerable times. And then another time, what was the worst that could happen under your as far as immunity to change?
Yeah.
I had ankle surgery a year and a half or so ago, and I was in one of those casts and a knee scooter, and I was losing weight, and I was in a hospital gown for a couple of weeks so I could get to the toilet fast enough. And so I was very exposed. And I was we were in a motel room rehabbing for a couple weeks. So my husband was there helping me, and I'm got this gown wide open in the back. I was losing weight, and I'm just very exposed. I have my foot way up in the air, 6, 8 pillows. And when I started getting thinner, I felt happy about it at first, but then later the thought was, as far as the worst thing that could happen, this is not sustainable. This is stressful. I can't. I'm not going to be able to keep. I'm not going to be able to keep this.
That's a good one.
So
yeah.
So the stress level of having to maintain weight loss versus it was an added pressure on me.
Yeah. Good one. Yeah, thank you. Interesting. Yeah. All right. And Heidi, I don't know if you can share, but if you take yourself off mute.
Yep, I can share.
Awesome.
I can even do video. I was had the video off because I was making lunch.
Okay, good.
I've not been in a great place past few weeks because of all the stress and tension of the caregiving that I'm doing. So what was interesting is I decided to finally reach out and check in with a therapist, and I had my first visit last night, which I totally messed up and I was late for, and it was just like a disaster and it was all my own doing of not being ready, even though I was ready for an hour, and I messed it up because it was the first time I was using the telemedicine stuff. And then she asked me if I had been doing anything, and I told her about the work of Byron Katie, and she said, well, that's just cognitive work, it's not emotional work. And I was a little bit unsettled by her saying that. But understanding it, because I have all this I feel like sometimes when I'm having these thoughts, I can say they're just thoughts and stories, but I have all this emotional spillover that I don't control. So I know it's about finding the thought that causes the emotions, but I'm not sure if I'm doing that, or if I'm doing it right or not doing it right, or and I know you have a thing about doing it right, but I don't know. It just sort of it took me aback when she said that.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I just trust whatever comes along like that, right in the right moment, is saying something, and it doesn't necessarily mean, of course, it doesn't mean something's wrong about the way I've been doing it, but yeah. I do find I love noticing the sinking from the neck down, into the body is really where it's very interesting. My mind, like many people's, would so like to figure everything out and keep it up in the head. And so answering questions is kind of exciting. And especially if we can skip those messy emotions. And the more I've done the work, though, and staying with something for a long time and not being against the emotion and really listening, letting it speak and be there and be expressed, is really very, very lovely. So it's a place for that, and just realizing I definitely have had my spots of where I notice, oh, I was doing the work really speedy quick to make sure I didn't feel that. And then good to notice. And I just realized it, and it didn't, for some reason I kept doing the work. Yeah. I like the idea of it's ultimately.
Sorry for all that dinging. I have to shut off my work laptop.
That is okay. yeah. Anyway, you just bring up something sweet and you know, whatever. Everything leads us to something, and maybe this will be lovely. Nothing. It can all be. Things can all be used together.
Yeah, I mean, I know that. That's, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Glad
Yeah.
to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anybody that I didn't get? Things were going on and off with the. Okay. All right. Some good thoughts here. Boy, I kind of liked the one at the very beginning. If anyone has a burning desire and you feel like you have a thought and you want to walk through it, then please. Woo, I've got it. Teresa at the very beginning said, I am responsible for my weight. And you could almost put, I am responsible for my eating. I mean, how interesting, right? Of course I am. But just to notice that, and when it becomes stressful. So finding that, and if you want to put something different in the, I am responsible for whatever the thing is that follows, then I think this is a good one. Yeah, I'm responsible for my eating issues. Just holding that, like letting yourself see some images or find the situation, you know. Just watching yourself, wherever that is, picture of yourself in the presence of food and eating, or noticing the weight on the scale. Okay. I'm responsible for this. All right. Is it true? Is it true? You are responsible for that. And if you say yes, just hold. Can I absolutely know that that's true? I'm responsible for this. So anyone want to share what your answer is? Just what you're noticing.
Yes and yes.
Hey, yeah, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, May.
I got a very painful yes, and then I got an optimistic no. And the no is in noticing that even when I change my diet drastically from the diet of my family, I still have a body very similar to the people in my family.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. It's great. Yeah.
I had the same thing, sort of. I had, yes, absolutely, I'm responsible. It's my body. It was easy to find that. Who else is going to do it for me if I don't do it for me? It was easy, yes. And then sitting with, can I really know? Dang, I hope not.
Hmm.
You know, the answer is no. got to be something else out there bigger than me that cares more about me, that's stronger than my weakness, that can help me.
Mm.
So I have to say no. I don't know that it's mine. Was I am responsible for my weight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah. 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 Thank you. I love getting to look at what I think responsible means, and yeah, how I'm holding that sentence. Just so what happens when you think it? I am responsible for my weight. I am responsible for my eating. What happens when you think this thought? Yeah, May.
Control, restriction, premeditation, stress.
Mm. Just notice, I am responsible for this. I am responsible for this.
I also notice a constant monitoring. Like, first thing I'll do is wake up, go in the mirror, and turn to the side and look at my belly to see if it's gotten smaller.
Mm. Mm. Teresa, how about you? You might have to unmute, yeah.
I feel small and insignificant. I want to hide, discouraged, hopeless, and alone. I've been paying attention to where that word discouraged comes up, because with my mantra right now, trying to be courage, then discouraged must be something about the opposite. Or it's kind of like a call to action of, okay, there's that word discouraged again. And so where can I find courage, or how can I be courageous? Or so I love actually when discouraged pops up now.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And Nanu, I love that. I feel a burden. Life is hard and complicated. I'm alone with the task ahead. Relate to that. I am sure I can make it. Yes. Helpless. I noticed that thought too, those images. I have to do it. Nothing will happen unless I do it. It was all me before.
How do I react?
Yeah.
So I'm responsible for my eating issues. Well, I see myself as the enemy. I see my needs, my wants as dangerous.
Good one. Mm-hmm. That's great. May I judge myself as irresponsible, lazy, less capable than others, not athletic, less worthy. If I'm responsible for my weight and I'm not thin and fit enough, I compare myself to people with very flat stomachs. And Heidi, another weight on my shoulders. And Nanu, constant control, even when I feel I am failing. Okay. I am responsible for my eating issues, my weight. Yeah. And may I also compare myself to my boyfriend, who's very naturally thin. Yeah. I want to eat the same meal as him. I feel shame. I'll give him my last bites, even if I'm still hungry, and I think I should be thinner. Yeah. Okay, so just noticing if those familiar thoughts, shame might be there. Regroup, apply more energy. Must be doing something wrong. Okay. So, who would you be without this thought? I am responsible. I'm responsible for this. Without the stressful story of it. Without that, who would you be without the story of I am responsible for this? And Heidi, that's a good one. I blame my parents with the thought. Or is that without the thought, Heidi?
Well, without the thought, I blame them.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
if I'm not responsible, I make them responsible. So it's
Yeah. Yeah. So good to watch that. Good to watch that happen. Yeah. And you just get to see. I like, definitely no right or wrong with it, and just noticing if there's nobody's responsible for it. Whatever my story,
Sorry.
whatever I think responsibility means. What if I don't know what it means?
My first place I landed was the same with Heidi, is that blame my body. And then it was like blame God, blame. And I'm like, wait a minute, if I'm blaming somebody, then something's wrong.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so that takes me right back to I shouldn't be this way. I should lose weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Falls right there.
Yeah.
So I'm having a difficult time finding the help of thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of surprising, actually.
Yeah. So notice that too, how it moves like this, and it's this responsibility, and then noticing responsibility means blame, shame. But just what if it was all coming together and we don't know why? I don't know, just unknown, just for a moment. Doesn't even have to be something permanent. We're just sort of setting down responsibility being on anyone, the story of responsibility.
I just had the exact same experience that I have when I'm in someone else's business. And I notice that. I get out of my kids' business, I feel free to do what I need to do. So all of a sudden I got out of my body's business, which is a real difficult concept for me. But I found freedom, acceptance, and I saw that I move on to other things. I can do something else besides being absorbed completely 100%. Absorbed is not the right word. There's a better word. It is all encompassing. So it's gone. I'm free.
Mm.
Yeah, I see that. I like to experience that for a moment.
Yes. Yeah, May.
Noticing a lot of beautiful things. The first thing I noticed is that I would really enjoy eating. And something else that I noticed is that I would be kinder and gentler to myself and more willing to, if necessary, like kind of take that journey of affirming myself and telling myself that I'm beautiful and believing it. Because when I don't feel responsible for my weight and the way that my body looks, then it's like, why would I withhold this love? There's no point. It's almost like I think if I withhold the love, it'll encourage me to change my body, and which is crazy. And one other thing I noticed is I love to do dance and movement, and I'm finding that there's one woman in particular, I'm seeing her image in my mind. I do fire performance with her, and it's like a very beautiful spectacle. And she is, how I would judge her, as overweight. And most people that do the fire performance are like very fit, very thin, wearing these little outfits, being really sexy. And I see her as like so sexy and beautiful right now. And I see that it's not about the shape or size of her body. She's using what she has to make these amazing shapes. It's not so much about the details. It's like the whole, I can take in a broader perspective. It's not, I'm not looking at her abs, I'm looking at her movement.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Maybe I can do that to myself too.
Yes. Yes. Love being able to notice the deep conditioning of, I see something and decide it's beautiful, and how fast that is. I see something, decide it's ugly. If I didn't have those eyes, like looking at human bodies, like letting us sometimes think of this as really going into the turnarounds, where we're looking at thin is better. Really sitting with the turnarounds, which some of that's happening in the media, right? You see some of those places that have somebody who's bigger doing yoga to show off the yoga clothing or something like that. It's happening just a little bit, but to actually really let yourself look through those eyes, that it's not of not knowing, the don't know mind. You can decondition yourself. You've been conditioned, it's possible to decondition.
Thank goodness.
Yes. Yeah. Very exciting when you first see something and go like, wow, I don't have the automatic, that's fat.
Yeah, and it's crazy how that judgment separates, because there'll be a moment where I experience the beauty. I'm like, oh, I think I really like this, or I like this person. And then the mind comes in and it's like, oh, well, they're this, they're that. We're different, and I don't want to be like that. And it's crazy.
Yeah. So I love Elisa's sharing. I'm just a human having a human experience without the thought, able to live my life, more room for other things that are way more interesting, so much more mental space, muscles relax, head fog lifts, more present in my body rather than in my head or wherever the fuck I float off to when my anxiety is too overwhelming. More engaged, it's safe, and I'm safe right in the moment. Yeah. And Nanu, it's a freeing feeling. I'm quite surprised, not used to it. Makes me laugh, and eating kind of blends in.
Without the thought, I'm responsible for my eating issue, then when thoughts, feelings, or habit loops arise, I'm not threatened by them. I can welcome them. They just happen. I didn't invite them, but maybe this craving's here, and I don't have to be threatened by it. And I can sit with it, maybe not have to act on it. It's here. It's happened. It's not my responsibility. It just happened. You know? And so I don't have to be afraid of it, collapse under it, feel I'm bad because I had that craving or thought.
Beautiful. Isn't that exciting to do that, even with a craving or an urge, or think, oh, I'm not the one who made it, you know, or, I mean, it's just, I'm not responsible. Okay, let's turn it around. I'm not responsible for. I just do want to say, it's like I love the this idea that sometimes Katie will bring up, but thinking about what an identity is, that it has sometimes lots of thoughts. Like, here's the identity. I am the person who has eating issues. I am the person who has a weight problem. I am the person who had an eating disorder. How interesting, the question. So I am responsible for just right away go to I'm responsible for my thinking, and I don't even know if that's true. But in the situation, I love this one, you know, this one, Katie observing, I only have two choices, believe the thought or question it. Which I love, that there is not door number 3, don't have the thought or any other option. It's too late. I already am having the thought. So I can question it. Yeah, there's my emotion. It's a happening. I shouldn't have that emotion. That's a thought on top of the emotion happening. I just responsible for my thinking. I also love the word respond, because it's redoing. I can't remember where the origin is with that spawn. Maybe that like spontaneity is from the same thing, and I'm redoing that. So anyway, can definitely find that with my thoughts. I can pause and question and ask if it's true. So who can find that? No, example. In the situation, what I'm looking at, I'm responsible for my thinking, or however you want to turn it around, if it's got different wording. My thinking is responsible for my weight problem.
So, well, that makes sense, but I was looking up words that were opposite of responsible. So I went there. Can we go there for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. And I just looked up a bunch of words for, I am not responsible for my weight. So I am, and the words that are opposite of responsible are, at first, they felt insulting. And yet when I gave it space, I was like, oh, you know what? That is true. I am crazy with my weight. I'm a troublemaker with my weight. I am half-assed about my weight. I am reckless, dodgy. I'm not guilt-free. That doesn't apply. you know, all these, and that sounds, it sounds brutal in some ways, but I also find truth in it. I also find that,
Ah,
and that's cause for seeing that I don't want to be those things. I'm obviously not fit for the job, so I think I will give it up.
lovely. I can find the freedom in that, the joy in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can too. At first, like I said, it felt harsh, but the more I thought about it, I thought,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, really to see something as just a happening. And I'm not, it's my part almost comes after the thing happens. Something happens, and anyway, just watching that dance go on. I'm not in charge of the whole thing.
So do your thing with words. Response able to respond.
Yes. Yes. And I like the spawn. Like I don't have it right in front of me, but the spawn part is like means something, like spontaneity, something arises without planning. So and I'm redoing that, responsible, remembering, responsible. So not responding in the same way, able, that could be a good thing. But also, yeah, I'm not the one, not in the way I've thought. I mean, I've certainly used the word responsible means suppress your emotions, follow step by step, do A, B, C equals D, you know, keep data. Well, I don't know, like irresponsible, sort of emotionless or controlled, not crazy.
Or even noticing that my way isn't working.
Yeah.
It's okay. And so I'm not able to respond. So just surrendering.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let reality have it. Let something else have it.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, even taking it on is actually fuel the problem.
Brutal. Now, how much proof do I need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I go back and I look, like we've done some in the, you know, some of the exercises to go back and look at the family dinner table or where something started or where you first had the idea ever. Because a little kid, I do remember being a little kid, noticing the joy of eating and not thinking about how much I weigh. Like you eat, you don't eat, you don't, you know, I don't know. I know not everybody has, sometimes people even find that since it's so young, they're not even sure, but just much less, not obsessive. So where did it become obsessive? It's the first time I went on a diet. So taking responsibility made it worse. I'm in charge of this. I'm going to make my body as perfect as possible.
No, that's an interesting thought because unlike you, I never had the freedom of food.
Mm.
And what I did was I believed my mother's story.
Yeah.
And in how I should be responsible. So I accepted that job title. I accepted that job description.
That's awesome. Yeah. I find that. Yeah. Yeah.
I need to redefine that.
Yeah.
I do believe in responsibility. I'm not liking how I view that word and how I live that word and that concept.
Yeah.
It really, it does work for me on some level.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. But there's a peaceful way. This has not been a peaceful way for me.
Yeah. Like what I do with the word, I think that's very powerful. It's great. In a way, you can also hold the Yahoo turnaround in this one, you know, oh, I'm responsible. And what ways does that feel light and joyful? And like, if that fits for you, you know.
A new way to respond.
Yeah. I get a redo, do-over, responsible. I can do it differently. Yeah. And I just love what you share, Laura, about how I responded was from my mother. Something about my mother is so, many of us have that very woven, like I just took the thoughts from my mother and I adopted them and they became what I followed. Because I can definitely find that. So I'm responsible. I'm, you know, adopting the same thinking that was passed on. You know, the way Katie says, there's no new thoughts, they just get passed along.
I just had a very odd thought that my mom has passed away, obviously, and well, not obviously, but she has passed away. And I often will talk to her. I talk to my daughter. I talk to my dad. Well, they're gone. Just had a spontaneous thought come. My mom, I could hear my mom saying, "You're welcome."
That's great.
Oh, you're funny, Mom. No, but yeah, it's my lesson. It's my,
Yeah.
it's really, I'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course the thought, the turnaround, I am not responsible for that. And just finding the ways that genuinely feel honest, but you're not responsible for it, and not necessarily hunting for who else's fault it is, even though noticing, you know, like everyone's contributing or my life contributes. Yeah, May.
I just noticed that when I don't have awareness, I can't make a different choice.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, there I am believing my thoughts. How would I know?
Yeah, like, you know, if I'm just a random example, if I'm at the refrigerator at 3 a.m., it's like, well, if I had more awareness, maybe I would make a different choice than that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like just also getting away from the shame of feeling like I need to be so aware all the time. I think that someone said I think it was Valisa said at the beginning of the meeting, thinking that you should always be in some expansive state. It's like, for me, that's like, that becomes too serious. So it'd be nice to find the kindness and the allowing of just not, okay, I don't have some broader awareness. I just am as I am now, and I'm going to the fridge at whatever time it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like if a kid's learning to walk and they fall and you're like, oh, you're an idiot.
Yeah. So good, right? Yeah. Innocently doing just what you're.
Yeah. And like, look at how much responsibility all of us are taking, being here, taking care of our minds. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. You just know to do it, right? And you would never plan, like in the year 2020, in the month of May, I will get on a call and maybe question my thought. No, it's sort of built little steps at a time, and here this happens, and you're in this moment at this time, and so much has contributed to that, and you didn't invent it. You're not the one in charge of that.
Yeah, and at this rate, we're all gonna love ourselves like crazy.
We maybe already do. Yeah. 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 So that I like the lightness of, oh, I'm responsible. Nice. I only need to respond to life, and let it be as it was, as it is. Isn't that sweet to just think of uh, just the way it's been and the way the weight is and the way eating is truly and honestly doing the best you can with and not using that to say and it's not good enough. I heard some of you. But just looking, and I'm looking at myself thinking of those. I love the thought that would repeat, I destroyed my 20s. I lost all the, um, and realizing that wasn't true. It could be I created the whole rest of my life, or I don't know if it's but just it's not true. So even kind of exciting to think of, wow, this, whatever it is that I'm looking at, eating issues, weight, how is it great that it's been something here? What is it offering me? What has it offered? That it's got something to offer. I'm willing to have this be in my life. I look forward to it. I can just really find it circles it brings me back to something right here that is the witness of all of it. Always there's reacting and just being with life and noticing there's something that can shift about how I'm seeing the world, how it's seeing the world. But there's a witness that's a bit undefinable, right? There's the identity, the one who has an eating problem, and there's the one that's watching. And how is that identity serving me? How has it served me? Let's just hear a little brief, what you got from each person. So Teresa, it's okay if you don't even have a formed thing of like, I've totally got this, but just, well, just noticing.
Yeah, I love all of your sweet lightness. I am stuck on I am not responsible for my eating issues. I'm really like just wanting, just opening my hands and waiting for that, inviting that to just settle in. I wrote down, I look forward to my eating issues being in my life. I look forward to my weight being in my life because that's what I want. So I can definitely get my thinking is responsible for my eating issues. I can go there. But I'm not responsible for my eating issues. I love May's, if I knew better. But then part of me wants to say I know better. So.
Yeah, which is a good one in itself. Why do I think I know better?
Yeah.
Like, that's a good one. Journal. Yeah, journal one. Yeah. Nanu, how about you?
just what I shared, I noticed that without a past, it's difficult to grasp responsibility. I'm responsible.
Mm.
So to notice that, where are my proofs in the past that I'm responsible,
That's
and
beautiful.
to investigate that.
Yeah. I mean, that's exciting. It's kind of fun to notice. I have to have a past to have the concept of responsibility. Wow. Yeah. Dee, how about you?
Well, what I noticed is that, well, what I remembered is that I was chubby very early on in life, like chubby baby, chubby toddler, and you can't say that I had any responsibility then, and and so like the concept that thin is better, the way to be is thin. I know that that's where I'm challenged. That's where I'm rebelling. This I believe that thought, and that's where all the suffering is coming from, is because I just can't I can't seem to just say, so this is your natural weight and this is your natural body, like this is you're a creature of this type or size or whatever, and that's perfect. That that I would love to get there, so something, so that it's good. I mean, I'm looking at, if I'm not responsible, if I was just born to be born to look this way, born and also that the being thin is not, it seems not to be a requirement so actually at this point in my life, it's not a requirement for anything. Like I don't need it to find a mate, and I don't need it for health, and I don't there's no necessity for it at all. And all I have is so far is like blessings, and I can see and I have a great view. And so yeah, so it's just some kind of release. I feel some kind of release is happening.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah. All right, Laura, how about you?
So I noticed the resistance, and that resistance brought me to blame. That witness to me that I see it as wrong. I see me as wrong. Of course, that's shame, and that's war with myself. And when I release it, it very obviously is freedom and feels happy. I'm just grateful. I really am grateful just to sit here today and let all these concepts, all these truths in me emerge, be seen. I feel like this has been very compassionate. It feels good. Feels good. I'm so glad we're here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sweet. May.
Yeah, I really something opened in me when I was hearing Dee share. One thing that I love is like, yeah, where can I find in my life that it's necessary for me to be thinner? First of all, like, I mean, my mind wants to say, especially considering the circumstances, you know, with the corona lockdown and everything, like, who do I need to be thinner for? Like, really, what is the necessity?
Mhm.
And then also just noticing, like, I love, Dee, what you shared about being a chubby baby, and like how it really is like this conditioning that says thinner is better. And I also was able to notice that I use these detox and health communities to reinforce the belief that thinner is better. And again, not to say that there's anything wrong with detox or anything like that, but for the way that I think, I go to those places and it amps up this righteousness of trying to be thin.
Mm.
And that's like really unhealthy for me. And so, you know, I tend to be kind of black or white. So part of me is like, I'm going to unfollow all those pages and I'm going to delete all those people. And that's not necessary. But
Yeah.
maybe if, like, let's say I'm on social media and a photo pops up of a woman with a flat stomach saying, I just got rid of all these parasites on my cleanse, like, maybe I could unfollow that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dee, what was this, Dee?
Yeah.
I was thinking we're deparasiting the mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a parasite.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Funny.
Wow.
That's
Mm.
awesome. Yeah. I love that thing, you know, that great question. If you had a choice, would you rather deparasite your mind or deparasite your, you know, your guts? Mind.
Yeah, it's like I'd rather deparasite my mind and live a good life
Yeah.
instead of deparasite my gut and have to post it on Facebook every day and tell everyone how I deparasited and they should deparasite too.
Oh, funny. Abby, how about you? If you're able to share.
Yeah, no, I am sorry. I had to lie down because of my back. What was how did you phrase your original, that question that you had? Like, how can we see what is beneficial
Oh,
about?
yeah, I'm willing to have my weight or my eating issues be exactly as they've been.
I It's funny. I think I can see that now, like, maybe as I start, because I've started to be able to be like, okay, so first of all, to discern between what's biological and what's a mental craving.
Mhm.
And then, so then I can see, okay, so if this is a craving, what's it trying to tell me? A mental craving, what's it trying to tell me? So I can see the benefit in that. What I am having trouble with is seeing the benefit for when it all started. I don't know, when I was like a early teen or something, and when this mental mindset began, and I just, like, I'm having a little trouble seeing the benefit of it when it was so torturous as a teenager. You know, it just
Yeah.
feels very sad to me that somebody has to be so focused on it. But then again, you know, I mean, maybe I'm just not seeing the point of it. May have, I'm not, I don't know that I so-called fall for this at this point, but I mean, it's like, I don't know that it didn't keep me from something that was more painful.
Hmm.
So I just don't know. I'm finding myself a little bit, not like,
Hmm.
I don't think it was beneficial at all. It's more like I have no idea, which is a step in the right direction, I guess.
Yeah, it's different than I know it was wrong and terrible. Yeah.
It just feels like such a waste that I'm still a little bit, you know, stuck on that. But that starts to ease up as the, like, shame of things that I don't like in my past start to ease up. You know, and maybe I'll start to see more clearly.
Mm-hmm. 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 Even just to have a little drop of trusting that the way it's been is the way it's been, and it
Yeah.
couldn't have gone any differently, and there might be something of service there. I'm even open to thinking it's okay the way it was. It's just right the way it was.
Yeah, I like that idea of there's something of service there.
Yeah.
That I'm not seeing it right at this second.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. And Heidi, if you're able to share.
Well, I was just noticing, I agree with a lot of what everybody else was saying, Dee and May, and but I notice, like just last night when I woke up in the middle of the night and I was listening to one of my favorite meditation teachers, a talk by her, and then she mentioned an author that I didn't know. So I immediately stopped listening and went to Amazon and looked up the book, and then got going on like every book that was on the underneath, like related to that book. And I'm always searching for these answers, because I feel responsible. And I also feel, I remember how betrayed I was, like, by science when, like, they told us not to eat fat when I was young. And then they tell us not to eat sugar, and then they like, it's always like, eat the egg yolks, don't eat the egg yolks, and I feel betrayed because I hold them responsible too. But I hold myself responsible for always seeking and searching for an answer that I haven't found yet.
Yeah.
So
I just love the way you describe that kind of seeking energy. It's similar to, I want to consume information. We even use that word. I just consume the information, and like, gotta get it. Like, and sort of nothing wrong with taking in something new and, but relaxing. I don't need anything more that's missing. How interesting. What a great thing to discover. I really
right.
love that myself.
But it plays into that responsibility. There's, so that it really came up with responsibility. So yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, no, great to hear. Very powerful, everybody. Thank you for being here. Yeah, thank you for your words of wisdom, your inquiry into the don't know mind. So thank you.
All right, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Love. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you.